Pesachim Daf Kufzayin. Today's email comes from Michael Mann. Yesterday I showed in Shir a video of a person who didn't have children for 7 years, and Reb Chaim Kanievsky asked him, what do you make Havdalah on? And he said, on grape juice. He says, no, you're supposed to make it on wine, like we learned yesterday in the Sugya. And sure enough, this person had a baby girl. Michael Mann says, I know this person. His name is R Eli, and in fact, he did have a baby girl just the other day. And the second email comes from Jack Ehrenhaus. He says, I want to thank you very much for learning the daf with all of us around the globe while exhibiting your sense of humor, sincerity, and overall great personality. Thank you. And he goes on to say that he learned 4 years in Tells Cleveland, and then he learned by Rav Guzman, and Rav Guzman showed him the dorm and showed him where to eat. But there was one day missing, similar to the story that I said over about Yeshiva Bachram back in the day. So thank you, Jack or Yaakov Yitzchak Ehrenhaus. The Gemara tells us that the sons of Rav Chisda said over a story. A Maimar came to their house and he wanted to make Havdalah, so they gave him beer. He refused to make Havdalah on beer and he went to sleep hungry. In the morning they found wine for him and he made Havdalah in the morning. The following year, the same thing occurred. He came, he wanted to make Havdalah, they gave him beer. And he said, it seems like this is Chamar Medina. This is the wine of this city, this country, and therefore it's permitted to make Havdalah on it, and he made Havdalah. So Gemara says you can learn from here 3 halachas. First of all, a Maimar certainly said Havdalah in Shemon Esrei and Ma'ariv, yet he was makbid to make Havdalah again on a kais. Second halacha, you see that you're not allowed to eat before you make Havdalah because you went to sleep hungry. And third of all, you see that you're able to do hashlama, you're allowed to make up Havdalah the following day. The Gemara says you're allowed to make up Havdalah all the way to Wednesday, in other words, until Tuesday night. The Gemara gives us a list of Amirayim who said different things about someone who makes Kiddush on a beer when there's no wine around. Rav Chisda says it's a Kal V'chomer. If you cannot make Kiddush on very sophisticated beer made from figs and berries, so certainly not from beer that's made out of dates. The Gemara tells us that Rebbe made Kiddush on beer that went through 13 different batches of dates. It smelled and tasted really, really good. And he said, such a beautiful beer, you certainly could say, Shiris v'sishbachs d'akadosh baruch hu. In fact, he made the Kiddush, and that night he had a terrible stomachache. And he said, Miyasronu mefayas. 2 pshatim, according to Rashi, it means it looked really good, it looked enticing, but at the end, it caused him a lot of pain and aggravation. And according to the Rashbam, it's impossible to make a bracha on something that causes pain and aggravation. You cannot thank Hashem for something like that and make a shevach v'ayida. Rav Yosef said, I'm going to make a neder in public, one which you cannot break, that I'm not going to drink beer. In fact, halacha is you could break such a neder, but you cannot break a neder that's al das rabbi. Rava said that somebody who makes kiddush on beer is going to be a midah keneged midah. Since he didn't spend a lot of money on the kiddush, he's going to lose his money. Rav Huna saw Rav making kiddush on beer, and he told him, he says, because you started making money off of beer, he was a beer maker, so now it's chaviv to you, you love it, it's beloved to you, so that's why you're making kiddush on it. Rebbe Lazar Reb Shimon comes along and says, you could in fact make kiddush on beer. He's the one that argues. And Rav and Shmuel both say, just like you cannot make kiddush on beer, so too you cannot make havdalah on beer. We learned, one of the halachas that we learned yesterday's brisa is that you must taste kiddush. How much? Rebbe Lazar Reb Shimon says, a kol shu, just a drop. Rebbe Yosef Rebbe says, and Rebbe Gidel says the same thing, it has to be meloi lugmav, which is a roiv revius. Says the Mishnah, as we learned in the Mishnah, that Erev Pesach, you don't eat at all. As we're going to see, there's certain foods that you could, but you don't make a su'uda samach lemincha, a half hour before mincha. Now there's 2 minchas, there's mincha gdoila and mincha ktana. Mincha gdoila will call it 12:30, 12 and a half hours in. So samach would be a half hour before at 12. Mincha ktana is at 3:30. So samach would be a half hour before that at 3. The Gemara says we're talking about mincha ktana. Why? Because the Brisa says that Agrifas HaMelech, even he didn't eat breakfast at 2:30 at his usual time. Most people eat breakfast at 9. He would eat, a king eats at 2:30 in the afternoon, which could draw him into going into Mincha Ktana. So that makes sense, it was Mincha Ktana. But if the problem was Mincha Gdoila, so what's the big deal that Agrifas didn't eat his breakfast at 2:30? It's past Mincha Gdoila. Why would he be any different than everybody else? And the concern is that you're not going to make a Korban Pesach, so why would he be any different? Rabbi Yossi says, Erev Pesach, you could eat mini targima, which is fruit and meat. Rabbi Yitzchak used to eat vegetables in order to increase his appetite. It says that a shamish, somebody serving people, would give intestines to his guests, so in order to increase their appetite. According to Rashi, the waiter himself would eat because it's not right for a waiter to serve food and he himself is not allowed to eat from that food. Rava would drink a lot of wine in order to increase his appetite, and he brought a raya because it says that you're allowed to add another cup of wine between the first two kaises of the Seder, but not at the two last kaises. But how could you do so if you're not going to be able to eat the matzah l'te'ava? The answer is, it actually does increase the taiva, the appetite, and therefore it's allowed. Have a wonderful day.